Hello all, and welcome to this afternoon's whiskey. Well, actually, it's a bit more towards evening. It's almost 6 o'clock already. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired, and I'm going to dub this review the. Um, I finally figured out what I'm going to do review. I don't want to reveal it yet. It's going to be a surprise. If this all works out, it's going to be quite the surprise, but it's going to take a long time to get there. Uh, let's just say I'm kind of happy to be moving forward, as it were. So, what is it that we are reviewing? Well, this is something my father gave me, and I realized it wasn't regular Teeling whiskey being an Irish whiskey, but it is a single malt version, which I have not tried, nor have I reviewed. And this is 46% ABV, uh, which would be I am so tired I cannot into math right now. Be 92 proof. Yes. Yes, that's how long it would take me to go and multiply something. Anyways, so I've never had this before, and I was looking up some reviews, and apparently this is supposed to be a whiskey that's been aged over 20 years. Parts of it have. It's a blend, as Irish whiskeys tend to be. Or is it? I thought single malt was supposed to be a single. Well, let me go and look at the web page here. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah. So the controversy is that the revival of Teeling whiskey. So Teeling whiskey is a brand that's been around for a very, very long time, but it shut down back in the 70s and revived recently in the mid 2010s. So how do they have whiskeys that are already aged over 20 years as part of this? And apparently they purchased other people's whiskeys and mixed it with their own. Apparently people who are experienced in this say it's kind of bushmills. But what's interesting to me is that this is aged in actually four different types of wine casks. So no, five different types. My goodness. Sherry, port, Madeira, white Burgundy, and Cabernet Sauvignon. Sauvignon. So yeah, this is probably going to be pretty complex. I don't know where my dad got this from. I'm actually pretty curious because I haven't seen I haven't seen this on the shelves at all. The single malt version in the full size bottle. Apparently on the websites it's about $50. It's probably going to be more than that in Hawaii for the full size bottle. I wouldn't know where you would get like the mini bottle like this, but yeah, let's just get to this. And like I said, never had this. In fact, haven't had Teeling's regular in quite some time. Oh my. So yeah, pouring it into the Glencairns. Hmm. Kind of the opposite of that brandy I had before. Oh yeah. Wow. So obviously some veinous notes, wine-like notes. Almost the nose is almost more reminiscent of a lighter cognac than a whiskey at this point. It's so fruity. Oak wood and vanilla there, but not very strong. White chocolate-like notes. You gotta excuse me, I'm a little bit out of practice with this. So a nice sort of yellow, just a tinge of orange to it, very thick legging. Almost like hints of apple cider. Mm. The deep floral aspect in the midst there. Well, I'm just doing the bouquet, but floral doesn't not what hit first. The fruit kind of hits first, and then a floral bouquet kind of opens up. Now minty notes are kind of emerging. All in all, pretty deeply complex nose there. Not something that you'd expect from an Irish whiskey. Obviously, no smoky or peaty or darker notes. Irish whiskey, triple distilled, no peat additions. Generally speaking, there are some that have the addition of peat nowadays, but this one doesn't. Yeah, just a lovely bouquet. And no ethanol burn. Okay, on to the palate now, shall we? Mm. Man, I am really out of practice with whiskeys right now. It's just that the flavors are so intense, you know, and concentrated compared to like beer that it's kind of hard for me to go and suss out, when I haven't had any hard liquor in about 6 months. So very thick and oily on the palate. Goes down very easy, very smooth. Just almost a light white pepper note in the mid to finish. An oaky and herbaceous note lingers on the palate in the long finish. Up front and in the mids, a very strong sherry-like note. You know, it's hard to sort of describe sherry, especially since I haven't had it in years. But there's a very distinctive twang to it that carries through into this. That sometimes you don't get with the sherry cask aging. It lends more of the sort of intense fruity notes. There really isn't much in the way of that stewed fruit note that you get from Madeiras and ports. So yeah, I would say almost like the Chardonnay and the sherry kind of dominates there from the cask aging. Mine with the thickness of the body here, it's almost buttery in the mids. There's a tang of fruitiness, light fruitiness, especially up front before those more thicker aged notes kind of make their way in from the front to the mids. Again, hard for me to suss out and really pinpoint what is what. Have my water with me. Waste not one precious drop of this dram, my friends. Waste not one precious drop. Ooh. Yeah. Again, that white chocolate note kind of emerges in the midst to finish. That spice in the finish there. It's really hard for me to suss out the top note because, like I said, it's so intense, it's overwhelming me. Luckily, there's not much in the way of ethanol burn here at all, so it's just my, you know, lack of practice, as it were, with these distilled beverages. Hmm. Yeah, this is quite nice, I have to say. Much more complex, much more nuanced than your average Irish whiskey, while still maintaining the traits of an Irish whiskey, being smooth, being fairly clean on the palate. I'm not sure what the correct whiskey terminology is. Um, you know, you're not going to confuse this with a Scotch or a bourbon. You know what I mean? Um, it just tastes clearer, cleaner, while still maintaining a heaviness to it from all that cask aging. Wow, I really could, you know, enjoy this for quite some time, man. Yeah, if I can find a full bottle of this, if you go back through my old reviews, especially when I was getting paid more and my dollar went further, about 10 years ago, I did review a lot of whiskeys. I often poo pooed a lot of Irish whiskeys as having so much less character than bourbons and scotches, but sometimes it's nice to go back to something after a very long period of time and you're just struck by how much more appealing it is when you've reset your palate, as it were. Just so buttery. Yeah. you know Almost like if you had like non-Concord grape jelly and like butter and put it on toast. Almost like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit off. Well, I should be out of it. I mean, I'm doing this on an empty stomach after all. But yeah, this is quite something, I must say. Quite something. So, Teeling Irish whiskey single malt. This is pretty damn good, I have to say. Unmistakably an Irish whiskey, yet deeply complex. Worth visiting or buying. I don't know why I always use the term worth visiting. I don't know, because it's almost like when I'm drinking, it's almost like I'm having a guest come over. Get into my belly, I guess. Well, folks, yeah, if you can find this, give it a shot. And that, folks, is your Irish whiskey review for this evening. Slante.